Hi, this is Steve Wagner, and this is a brief presentation on fundamental tactics of persuasion. This is part 2. In part 1, I introduced the concept of persuasion and covered 3 tactics: reciprocation, commitment and consistency, and social proof. In this presentation, part 2, I'll cover liking, authority, and scarcity, and then wrap it up with some references.
Okay, another persuasive tactic is liking. And this is fairly obvious. Okay, people want to say yes to those that they like. How can you take advantage of this in your work to get people to say yes to you? So one thing that psychology has taught us is that people like those who are similar to them. We like people who talk like us and look like us. And so it's a good idea to mirror the person that you're trying to influence. If they talk in a certain way, use a certain style of language, you should try and mirror that same type of language. If they have a certain posture, it's good to mirror that posture. It's also good to look for those underlying similarities that you have with them. Perhaps you have a common alma mater. Maybe you went to the same school. Point that out to the person. They'll like you more, and they're more likely to say yes to you if they like you. People also like to be flattered. They like people who like them. And so it's good practice to really look for what is good in others. I mean, genuinely look for what you like about another person. And then tell them what you like. And they'll like you in return, probably because you're such a good judge of character. Don't be afraid to ask for a favor from another person and express your appreciation. People like those that they can help. People want to be useful. They want to help other people. So if you can go out on a limb and ask another person for a favor and then you express your appreciation, that person is more likely to like you and help you in the future. Another simple fact of life that we all understand is that attractive people are liked by others. So how can you use this? Well, maybe you are very attractive by nature, but there's things that we can do to highlight our attractiveness. So being well groomed, being well dressed is going to make you more persuasive. It's more likely that people are going to say yes to you. Another tactic for persuasion is authority. People look to experts to show them the way. You might be a little bit humble. You might feel uncomfortable overtly telling people that you're an expert. And so it's probably a good idea to find ways to convey your expertise in an indirect fashion. So how can you do this? Well, one thing you can do is have someone else introduce your expertise. Speakers do this all the time. They have someone get up and give an introduction of them, and that establishes them as an expert. Another thing you can do is to display your degrees and certificates and awards in your office. Another thing you can do is make people aware of your job title, especially if it conveys authority. So simply giving someone a business card is a way of giving them contact information, but if it has a job title that conveys authority, it's also a way of indirectly conveying your expertise. You might consider putting a professional biography on your website. Talk about your experiences. Talk about what makes you an expert. The more that people perceive you as an expert of someone who has authority, the more likely they are to be persuaded by your ideas. One thing I want to note is that being viewed as an expert can backfire at times. If other people assume that because you're such an expert that you have all the answers and you don't need their input, you might not get the information you need to make a good decision. If you are conveying to others that you are an expert, it's really important to be active in pursuing the input of others because they might be hesitant to tell you their opinions or to provide you with input because they might assume that you don't need it. The final tactic for persuasion that we'll talk about is scarcity. So people want something more when it's not readily available. So how can you use this idea to be more persuasive? So you should always try and highlight what is particularly rare or unique about the idea you are promoting or the product or service that you are providing. You should also consider that information is more valued when it is perceived to be exclusive information. So if you're promoting a new program, you might consider backing it up with research that is hot off the presses, that is exclusive information. It's more likely to persuade people if they know that the information that you're providing is exclusive and not readily available to others. Also, we need to understand that people are more persuaded by messages that emphasize what they will lose than messages that emphasize what they will gain. So it's not as effective to say someone, I think you should take this opportunity, than it is to say something like, don't miss out on this opportunity. If you found these ideas interesting, I'd like you to point out to you a couple books that I just think are outstanding. The common factor here is the author Robert Cialdini. He's a fantastic writer and an accomplished psychologist,